Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for watching. This is Warren Redlick. As usual, we're going to talk about Tesla. We'll talk about some other things. First thing I want to talk about, though, is fake news. So, most of the time when you see fake news, it's Donald Trump complaining about something the media said or so on. And a lot of times the fake news is when people who are, when we're talking about Tesla, it's when people who are negative on Tesla say things that aren't true about Tesla. There's another side to this. You want to watch the Charlie Kirk stuff? I don't know. It'll be about 30, 45 minutes long, I think. Um, Sometimes it's people who are positive about Tesla saying things about Tesla being that seem positive that aren't really true. And I'm picking on Sawyer, Merritt. I'm going to pick on Farzad in a minute too. And there's a website or a group called NotATeslaApp that posted this article that said Tesla scores win as NHTSA adopts performance-based rules for autonomous vehicles. Sawyer repeated this. I'm going to show you the full posts and everything. And as far as I can tell, it's just not true. I think that not a Tesla app made it up, or I don't know where they got it from because they didn't include a link to a source. Like if you're going to say something like this, especially if you're going to say that the NHTSA adopts rules, like, well, where's the go to the NHTS? Give me a link to the NHTSA website, the Department of Transportation website, that shows where this is. And I looked, it ain't there. And they don't. I looked. Is there some other news story out there? Did the Secretary of Transportation speak on a podcast? They just appointed a new NHTSA administrator, so that guy hasn't done anything. So, and I'm going to be picking on Sawyer and I'm going to be picking on Farzad. I think generally they're good guys. I think they generally do good work, or whatever. They generally share useful information, but I think they should fact check more. I think they should be more careful, and I'm just going to be blunt about that. And they don't like being criticized. Let's be clear about that. They do not like being criticized. So here's Sawyer says regulators will focus on setting objective performance targets that a vehicle's autonomous system must meet. And he's just basically taking something out of that article, regardless of the hardware methods used. So the issue here, the underlying issue is the NHTSA going to require LiDAR? Is the NHTSA going to require radar? Are they going to have specific requirements that you have to have this in your car in order to make autonomous vehicles work? And as far as I know, there's no serious concern that they are going to do that. But there has been some talk from one of the particular concerns has been, does Tesla or any robotaxi operator have to follow different standards in every one of the 50 states, right? Or can we have one national standard? That's something they've talked about moving towards. But I haven't seen any indication that they've made any significant progress on that. So when are we going to get that? Does Congress have to create that, or can the Department of Transportation do it on its own? I don't think it can. So, Sawyer's repeating this, and Farzad also posted, basically, this is a piece from the article from NotATeslaApp. And then Farzad interprets this, this regulation change will allow Tesla to flood the U.S. with vision-only AI-powered robotaxis. So that's not even correct, because you still have the state regulations. This isn't, I don't know why I think they're good people. I don't know why they bought this article. I don't know why they didn't do their research to say, hey, wait a minute, where's the support for this? B says, this is exactly one of the things I think, B. There's simply too much Tesla content out there. I have to pick and choose wisely who I follow and not be overwhelmed. I think that there's sort of like an urge to be first. Sawyer, this is one of the things that irks me. When you're a content creator, this is one of the things that irks me. Sawyer got like 500,000 views. I mean, Sawyer probably made like $50. Maybe it's $20 just for posting this. Maybe it'll end up getting 1 million views. I don't know. I don't know how much money he's going to make from that. And I just think if you're going to be this voice, and again, I like Sawyer. I think he's a good guy. I'm not trying to crack on him. I'm not saying he's a bad person. But if you're gonna have this many followers and you're gonna get this many views when you post something, I think you have a responsibility to do some fact checking. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but it wasn't hard to read the article and say, hey, wait a minute, where's the link? There's no link. That's red flag right there. And they said the NHTSA adopted a rule. Go to the NHTSA website. I don't get, like, I'm not perfect. And I make mistakes, but I think there's a responsibility there if you're going to get as big as they are. Farzad had 127,000 impressions on his post. Like they're bigger than me. Okay, again, they're good people, but they're bigger than me. They have bigger audiences. Farzad, I don't know exactly what Sawyer does. I know Farzad works very hard at what he's doing, but you dropped a ball here. So that bothers me. And here's the NotATeslaApp. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Administration has announced that it's planned to modernize. Well, they have a press release page. I went and looked. Where's the announcement? Where's the link to the announcement? Like this just wasn't that difficult to fact check. And I don't know why they didn't. I don't know if they're lazy. I don't know if they're tired. I don't know if they had a bad moment. But you read the source and you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay, we normally has announced its plan. Well, where's the announcement? Where's the link? And then they have a press release page. I went to the press release page. The only thing remotely close, I'll just point out, I can't find anything from the NHTSA backing up the story. This is 11 hours ago now, 12 hours ago that I posted this. Nothing. Maybe they had me muted because I am kind of a jerk. I don't know why they haven't responded. James Stevenson and I had a little bit of a conversation about this because he and Chuck Cook were talking about it. Chuck Cook is the guy with the Chuck's Left Turn. And they were talking about the story being positive. And I said, well, wait a minute. Did either of you guys check? Did anybody fact check the story? And James came back and said, well, you could email these guys. Like there's some people at the DOT you could email about. I don't need to email anybody. This article says they announced something and I can't find the announcement. Where the hell's the goddamn announcement? Right? So NotATeslaApp is the only source. This post offers no sources or links. The most recent NHTSA press release, I'll show you in a second, is September 4th and says nothing like this. So this is the September 4th press release, and they said they're adopting rules related to transmission shift position sequence, starter interlock, and transmission braking effect, windshield defrosting and defogging systems, windshield wiping and washing systems, lamp reflective devices, and associated equipment. Where does that? Because this is about AVs, about automated driving systems, but what does this have to do with what the claim? Look at the claim again. The claim is that NHTSA is adopting performance-based rules for autonomous. Now, this is something we want them to do. I'll be clear, though. I don't think the NHTSA is really that significant. We have robotaxis operating. We're in a state-based system. If you meet the status of what the state says, you're fine. I got a couple questions here I'll just address quickly. CM says, could Tesla only 8x because of Elon's package? Sounds bearish after 10 years. Tesla doesn't have to even 8x. Who knows? I think Tesla's going to weigh more than 8x, but I don't know. William says, when does Tesla insurance begin to be meaningful profit for Tesla? I don't think Tesla insurance is going anywhere. I think Tesla insurance is basically something they will apply to robotaxis so they can handle their own claims. Will a Tesla with FSD be functional in Australia if it was built in the US? Even it's already functional in Australia. Okay, so let's keep going with this bit here. So, and I wanted to point out there was another story recently, and I'm gonna roast Tesla Chan a little bit about this. There was a rumor, and Tesla Chan shared it. He deleted it after I brought it up. Again, there's a little bit more responsibility. Deleted it after he was shown it was false. It's like 12 hours later, and Sawyer hasn't deleted the story, hasn't commented as far as I know. Rumor that some company we've never heard of has an agreement with Tesla to buy and deploy 10,000 Optimus robots. And I included a link to the press release. I think Elon eventually said it was fake news. I don't know why people were reporting this story. I don't know how that became a thing. To me, it was just like 10,000 Optimus. Company I never heard of. It didn't fit the pattern. Because we've seen Semi going with Frito-Lay and Pepsi. Okay, I've heard of Frito-Lay and Pepsi. This is some company I never heard of doing, what was it, pharma something or other. Like, Optimus is going to be working in pharmaceutical factories. Farm AG Agra or something like that. Agra Farm. The hell was that? So, I just wanted to point this. There's fake news all the time that's negative about Tesla, but sometimes there's positive news about Tesla that's also fake. And I'm like, what? Why would Tesla be making a deal to distribute 10,000 Optimus robots to some random company when they're not even manufacturing at scale yet? And why would they partner with some company we never heard of? And it didn't take long to figure out, hey, I think this is BS. And then I think Elon said it was fake. But a bunch of people ran with it because people want there to be positive news. And I would encourage people, if you see something that looks too good to be true, maybe it's not true. What time frame do you think the board had in mind to hit these tranches? Um, well, we'll talk about we'll talk about Elon's compensation package later. CM says, and your battery revenue model was bullshit. I've actually retracted my battery revenue model. I've said my battery revenue model is no longer applicable. And other people are saying, no, the battery revenue model is still good. It's a model. It's either good or it isn't good. There are clear flaws in the model now that we know now that weren't obvious then. I don't think insurance will become a substantial part of Tesla profits because Tesla will stop selling cars and there won't be people to sell insurance to because Tesla will own the cars. So Tesla insurance will effectively become Tesla's risk management system that deals with its claims management system. Walmart has its own claims management system. They don't pay for insurance. They self-insure. So it will simply lower Tesla's cost of providing robotaxi services. Jim Manley says, if this were real, wouldn't supremacy clause in the Constitution mean that federal regulations would override state regulations? That would be true if Congress had passed a law giving some agency the power to make regulations that override state regulations. But as far as I know, Congress hasn't passed the law yet that would be required to give the federal agencies the power to override state regulations. I hope that makes sense. Maybe they're not lazy or tired. They're just hopeful and positive people that want. Yeah, well, that's true too, ZDME. They want it to be good news. They saw good news. They got excited about it and they got carried away. Absolutely. Ramesh says, if a left-hand drive Tesla, so an American style Tesla with a vehicle, the steering wheel on the left-hand side, will function in a right-hand drive environment using FSD. I don't know the answer to your question. I know I've driven a out of market. I drove a British Tesla that was gray market imported to Thailand, and the Tesla software did not work. The map didn't work. I think you couldn't even use a supercharger. So I think Tesla doesn't like you taking a vehicle from one market and bringing it to another, unless they've approved that market. So I don't think there's any reason why they're going to send vehicles with the steering wheel on the wrong side to those markets. They do send Model S's and X's to Japan, even though the wheel's on the wrong side. The NHTSA news is fake. Yes, Mark. Well, let me be clear, Mark. I can't find any evidence that the news about NHTSA that we're going back to this now. Sawyer posted this story that came from NotATeslaApp, whatever. I can't find any evidence that this story is true, and I looked at the places where you would find that evidence, and it ain't there. So they say the NHTSA has announced. Well, when a government agency announces something, it's usually on the website. It wouldn't just be NotATeslaApp that's covering the story. Maybe the Wall Street Journal would cover the story. Maybe, I don't like them, but maybe Electrek would have covered that story. But, no, I don't know, some other media. There's only one source for the story and nobody else is covering it. And there's no link to the information. I don't buy it. So what's your best guess for Tesla in 5 years in bear case? Seriously. Best guess in bear case. First of all, that's not what this video is about. I'm going to talk about stuff like that soon. But I think we've covered this topic. So let me move on. This is related to what you're bringing up, CM. Lord Penty says, I'm starting to get the can I get in now DMs, so we might be able to have 3 to 5 more days of this price action if history repeats. So in other words, he's saying he's hearing from people they're thinking about investing in Tesla because they don't want to be too late. Can I get in now? And I have gotten some messages, hey, is it too late for me to invest in Tesla? And my answer is I just don't tell people that they should buy a stock. That's not my role. I tell you what I think of the company. I tell you what I'm doing. And I can tell you I'm not selling my Tesla stock. I'm very tempted. I have an option that strike date is December. That is up. I think I bought at the wrong time, but it's close to even. And I don't know if the stock's going to keep going up or not. I'm a little optimistic about the third quarter numbers that we'll find out on October 2nd. So I kind of all right. And it's not a lot of money. It's not I have a lot more investment. This is a small option buy. But I was thinking about selling. I'm nah, I'll let it ride. We'll see what happens. So to answer CM's question, my best guess for Tesla in 5 years is 2030, $5,000 a share. Um, Bear case, if robotaxi doesn't happen, which seems really unlikely at this point, but let's say robotaxi doesn't happen, Optimus doesn't happen, well, then the stock's going to go down. The Tesla is not in a position to be a highly profitable growing company without the competition from China on EVs is too strong. Not that Tesla can't succeed in making cars, they just won't make that much profits and they won't sell that many cars competing against the flood of vehicles coming out of China. I think BYD just announced some monster energy storage device that's way bigger than Megapack. So there's competition in the energy storage area. There's a lot of demand, and I think that Tesla's got some other things up their sleeves. But if they don't solve real world AI, then, as Elon said, if you don't believe we're going to solve autonomy, then don't invest in the company. So the bear case is they don't solve it. But I think 5 years from now, I think we're going to see 10 million robotaxis. The robotaxi model hasn't changed for me. I think in 2030, Tesla has 10 million robotaxis running, making $500 billion a year in gross profit. And that doesn't include what Optimus generates. If Optimus will probably be generating some revenue then too, and then you'll see the growth curve for Optimus by 2030. That's my best guess. So I think Tesla could be $5,000 a share in 2030, and that's why I'm sure as hell not selling now. This is a Yale School of Management senior associate dean said even at its peak, Amazon. He said that Tesla's price earnings ratio was too high. Said even at its peak, Amazon was nowhere near this level. Yeah, well, but first of all, that's not true. What do you mean by at its peak? At its price earnings ratio peak? Because I invested in Amazon in 2013 when it was like negative. They were losing money, but I saw the growth, right? And the thing is, Tesla's not, as I put up here, Tesla's not near its peak. Tesla has massive growth ahead. If you don't see the growth, like the point of the price earnings ratio is, do you think this company's going to grow or not? If you see the earnings and you think the company's not going to grow, then the price earnings ratio should be like 10. But if you think the company's going to grow fairly fast, then you think the price earnings ratio might be 30 or 40. If you think the growth might be insanely high, then 200 price earnings ratio is low. And like I'm telling you, I think the stock in about 5 years will be $5,000 a share. I think the stock is trading now at like 425 or something like that, 426. So if I think it's going to 10x in 5 years, what other investment would I buy that's going to 10x in 5 years? Even if it's only 5x in 5 years, what else would you buy? I mean, I don't see, assuming they solve robotaxi, assuming the price doesn't fall below $1 a mile on average, and I think they might have more than 10 million robotaxis by 2030. But if you're in the ballpark of $1 a mile with cost of operation 20 cents a mile, then you've got you're talking about 70 cents a mile in gross profit per mile, and then you're doing 60,000 miles a year in gross. You just get to like silly numbers. So if you see that growth, then how could you I don't if you don't see it, I'm guessing this guy doesn't know much about robotaxis. He doesn't know the robotaxi plan. He doesn't know the Optimus plan. If you don't know what Tesla's planning to do, then you could say, oh, this stock's over. The stock is clearly overpriced if you believe there's going to be no robotaxi and no Optimus and you have no understanding of the profits those would generate. If you don't believe in Optimus and robotaxi, then stock's overpriced. I don't know of another business plan that Tesla. I do think the AI6 hardware, the coming AI6 chip, selling inference jobs, selling AI work on a per chip basis or a per chip hour basis or whatever. I think that could be as big as robotaxi, but we're early on that one yet, and I haven't wrapped my head around that one. I did a video about that recently, so check that out. Buy the Tesla dip while you can. Well, we're not on a dip now. Yeah, if you've been holding 8 years, be like me. I'm what am I, 9 years now? If you're holding 8-9 years, then everything looks great. Mark says 2 to 3x Tesla in 3 months. Maybe there's people making short-term stock price predictions. I think there's a good chance the stock goes up. Look, we're waiting for October 2nd. I'm probably gonna do a live stream in another week. October 2nd, so that'll be September 28th September 28th. So a few days before the October 2nd. October 2nd, we learn vehicle deliveries for the third quarter, and we learn energy storage deployed for the third quarter. My speculation is that energy storage deployed is going to be up significantly in the third quarter. It's speculation. I'm not saying I know. Just there's some hints. 14.4 says, why not alongside robotaxi that Tesla gets into robo trucking? I do think that they will eventually have semi going autonomously. I don't think semi scales enough for that to be significant by 2030. We're going to have, like, by the end of 2026, the semi factory will be making 50,000 semis a year. Do they have plans for another factory? They have plans to expand that. How big is the semi fleet in 2030? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not big enough, but I don't know. I don't know that that's going to be the game changer that you think it's going to be. And I don't know that the driver of a semi is that much of a component of the cost of what semis do. When are dividends likely to be included for Tesla? I think dividends are a long way off. But I don't know. I don't. That's not something I worry about as an investor. Like, I'm not worried about dividends. Not doesn't make my radar screen. If they do stock buybacks, if they hold cash, if they invest in the company, I want them to invest in the company. To me, the cash machine starts flowing with robotaxi generating lots of revenue. I want them to build more cybercab factories. I want them to build more Optimus factories. I don't want them to give me dividends. I want them to invest in the company. So when they don't have useful things to do to invest their company's money, and I have another thing I'm going to be talking about later in this video about how I think they could use company money to invest in something that'll help. But when they run out of things to invest the company money in, then I want them to do dividends or share buybacks, but not now. 20 million cars by 2030 seems impossible now. Elon load? I think you meant Elon lied. So Elon made a prediction, 20 million cars, I think it was 20 million cars a year by 2030. I think that prediction was a while ago, and the Chinese caught up. I don't think he saw the Chinese getting this good at making EVs. And I think Tesla changed direction from making high volume cars to making robotaxis and providing robotaxi services. So if you would rather have a company where the CEO doesn't adapt and the company doesn't adapt to changing circumstances, then Tesla's not the company for you. Don't invest in Elon. Elon adapts. Elon changes plans. He didn't lie. Just saw that the world was changing and he's adapting to the changes. I want a CEO who adapts. I don't want a CEO who says, well, I said this 8 years ago, so I got to keep doing it even if it's stupid now. Yeah. Okay, so let me move on here. There's another thing where I think this is one of the things I don't like. I don't know Cole. I may follow him. I guess I follow him because it says the subscribe button up there. He says, if you own 100 shares of Tesla and sell a covered call with 5 DTE, I think it's 5 days to expire, starting Monday at the 450 strike price, you'd make $425 in premium as of now. That's a 1% return over a week, and if exercised, it's a $2,400 cap gain on top. Okay. So I'm not a fan of this strategy. I don't like short-term strategies in general. I don't like playing these call games. I said, the thing is, if you play this game and the stock goes to $500, you'll be miserable and you'll deserve it. Don't play games with a $40,000 worth of stock for $400 profit. Really? You're going to play game. You got $40,000 of stock that might go to $50,000 or $42,600 worth of stock. It might go to $50,000 and you're going to play games to make $400? Really? And somebody asked about that and he said, well, don't do this with stock you don't want to sell. Well, if I don't sell it, then I don't want to sell it. This is one of those, like, I don't know, you're posting for the sake of posting. Like, what's your point? What is the purpose of this? Is it to make money because you got 15,000 views, which is a trivial amount? I don't understand it. But I don't like this pushing these call strategies, these short-term, gaming the system strategies. I mentioned this in my previous live stream. It happened during the live stream. I had made a prediction that Elon is planning to deploy solar and batteries at absurdly massive scale. I'm not sure when, but within 5 years, maybe we start seeing signs within 3 years. And Elon says, what gave that away? So, okay. And look, I got 141,000 views. I made a buck. I made $2. I don't know. And I responded. Of course, he didn't answer me. I said, it's obvious that you believe it needs to be done. It's pretty obvious that no one else will do it, so therefore you're going to do it. But it's not obvious how you will do it. And here are my guesses. Number one, Tesla needs to do massive land buys. Number two, they need to do solar cell production themselves because Trump is I mean, they don't have to do solar cell production themselves. They can buy cells from China, but Trump is tariffing them. So maybe it makes sense for Tesla. Tesla makes panels in Buffalo in fairly low volume. Do they have a plan to make solar cells? The panels are made of cells. So do they have a plan of manufacturing the cells in the United States and the panels in the United States and manufacture them in high volume? Um, I think the only way to do it at massive scale is on the ground as opposed to on rooftops because it's just harder. It takes more time to get things up on roofs. There's permitting, all these other issues. And I think using Optimus to install the panels, to install the ground mount and install the panels could really lower the installation costs because one of the biggest costs is labor. So B says, and then you pay capital gains taxes on the $400 you just made. Yeah, I mean, you're going to pay capital gains taxes one way or another anyway, I suppose. But so one of my theories. So one of my issues is I have conversations with Grok all the time. So in order to get the terawatt of solar that Elon has been talking about, right? That's a crazy amount of solar. He's going to need millions of acres of land, 5,000 to 10,000 square miles of land. Well, where's he going to get that much land? So I actually, checking with Grok, like where's land cheap? Mississippi. They're doing XAI has Colossus in Tennessee. I think Colossus 2 is either in Tennessee or Mississippi, but they're generating electricity in Mississippi right across the line. I think land is pretty cheap in Mississippi, so maybe they bought a lot of land in Mississippi. Mississippi's relatively southern. That could be a good place to generate electricity, and you've got a consumer of that electricity right there. But this was half joking. They buy land in Mississippi. They get land from the government, federal government, or Nevada government in Nevada. Nevada is where the first Gigafactory is, right? Where Panasonic makes the batteries, where the semi factory is. And Texas, where they lease the land, which is sort of half joking. But Elon has a ton of land near Austin. Elon, Tesla combined, it's actually enough to generate a gigawatt of solar. If they wanted to put solar all over all the land that Elon and Tesla and SpaceX and the Boring Company control, they could generate a gigawatt of electricity, which is nowhere near a terawatt, but it's a start. And there's a lot of cheap land in Texas, and Elon likes Texas. And then the half joke was they get the land from Bill Gates' shorts. Bill Gates owns a lot of land. And then my other concern is I think the biggest roadblock to solar farms in the United States is the opposition of utility companies, and that the utility companies have influence over regulators. So my theory is, how does Tesla get around that? Well, what if Tesla buys a utility company or just part of a utility company? So there's a utility company, AEP, I forget the name, American Electric Power, something like that, that has 11 states. 5 of the states have low union presence: Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Indiana. So leave out Indiana for whatever reason. You make a deal with AEP where Tesla buys 4 of the states, and starts deploying solar in those states. That could make a lot of sense. And then now that the utility is not in the way because Tesla owns the utility, I don't think that's a crazy idea. Maybe just Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana. Why does Tesla have such a big cash pile? I think you'd probably be talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 billion. Tesla has $37 billion in cash. So if the cash flow starts getting better, and maybe that's partially stock that they trade in order to get it, or they borrow some money to complete the deal, this would work. So this is a theory. No one has. I haven't had conversations with anybody. Nobody's responded to this, but I think there's a prediction. I'm not saying it's like a 99%. I'm saying like 60-40. I think Tesla buys a utility company. They already sort of have their own utility company in Texas with using Megapacks as sort of like a peaker. They sort of play in the utility business already. So why not Tesla just buy a utility? And that gets the roadblocks out of the way so they can build solar farms at scale. What if Mr. Musk taught personal responsibility and business leadership? I think he does. I think he teaches by example. Stock split next year. I don't worry about stock splits. They probably will split because I think there's advantages for how they compensate employees with smaller stock price, but I don't understand that stuff, and I don't really pay attention. I don't think stock splits matter as much as other people think. I'm not sure what the 20 million year reference is, Jim. Um, hmm. Shamron says, I'm not that smart. I just buy Tesla stocks and hold. Bet if you could go back in time and buy $50,000 worth of Microsoft and hold a few decades, you would do so. Yeah, there's that saying, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? And be like, buy Microsoft, hold. 3 words, buy Microsoft, hold. Indiana making room for nuclear energy. Solar deploys faster. Yes, solar. I think solar is the only real solution to getting scale of electricity that we need. Nuclear's great, but and then maybe fusion will come along. Separate news here. Boring Company. So there's a story about Boring Company and this guy Austin. Let me just cover this. This guy Austin says Boring Company dangerously close to being able to provide every city dozens of miles of light rail BRT type capacity with no public money. While offering passenger travel times that are a fraction of other transit. Elon responded to this, and I was not surprised at his response because I've seen him talk like this before. I love trains, but the future is individualized mass transit with autonomous electric vehicles, Teslas, taking you to precisely your destination. Tunnels are needed to address the fundamental choke points in cities. You can't have 3D buildings and expect a 2D transport system to be effective. Multiple layers of tunnels enable transport to be 3D too. Fastest way to travel long distances, city center to city center, short of new physics, is cars, pods, and vacuum tunnels. That's Hyperloop coming. All these things are coming eventually. I think we're seeing significant progress with Boring Company. They're going towards 0 people in the tunnel and continuous mining, they call it. As they cross those thresholds, I think we're going to start to see them manufacture tunnel boring machines in higher volume and then doing tunneling in higher volume. Jimmy Lynn comes in the video 30 minutes in and asks what we talked about at the start of the video. I'm gonna suggest you go back to the start of the video. Let me just summarize that quick. I'll go ahead and I'll summarize that quick. For those who are coming in late, Sawyer posted this, and Farzad also posted something. And what they were posting about was this article from NotATeslaApp saying Tesla stores win as NHTSA adopts performance-based rules for autonomous vehicles, and the US NHTSA has announced a plan to modernize blah blah blah. There's no such announcement from the NHTSA. I can't find it. I've spent like 12 hours asking people. I don't know, 10 hours, 8 hours, whatever, trying to find where this is. I've done my research. I can't find this story anywhere. I can't find this on the NHTSA website. So I'm calling that fake news. There's a lot of negative fake news about Tesla, but sometimes there's positive fake news about Tesla, and we need to be honest about when the news is fake. So that's the short version. You can watch more if you go to the beginning of the video. Why not wind energy? Elon has expressed support for offshore wind. Wind doesn't scale the same way solar does. Additionally, by the way, nuclear fission produces measures of palladium and other platinum group metals. Yeah, I'm sure there's some good things about nuclear, and like fusion will come along and fusion will be great, but we're not there yet. Another positive piece of news, and this is real news, not fake news, is Tesla FSD Supervise is now available in Australia and New Zealand. That's now 6 countries, and a lot more to come according to the Tesla AI account. So this is from the source, right? So there's good news. We're seeing FSD expanding. Australia and New Zealand drive on the other side of the road from the United States. So now FSD is working on both sides of the road. Also, they're upside down. Somehow they drive, I don't know how they do it. They drive upside down. It's amazing. Because, Australia's on the bottom of the world. So they're upside down. No one's ever made that joke before. And the Coriolis effect screws everything up too. And being able to handle the Coriolis effect. Google Coriolis effect. Loosely related to Tesla, I'm going to talk about this. I think somebody asked me about the shareholder meeting coming up. Bernie Sanders, everybody's favorite senator, not. Tesla is proposing a deal that could give Elon Musk $2 trillion in wealth, more than the bottom 59% of Americans combined. Does anybody in America think this is sane? Yeah, Tesla shareholders think it's sane. The people who are actually paying him think it's sane. And it's not completely accurate. It doesn't give Elon anything. It makes Elon a deal that if you do this, you earn. See, Bernie doesn't believe anybody earns anything, right? Nobody earns anything. You're given, right? To each according to his need. You're given what you need, and from each according to his ability, right? You're obligated under his communism to give according to your ability, and you get according to what you need, right? And so Elon's getting too much because he doesn't need that much. but he's not getting it. Nobody's giving it to him. He's earning it. That's point number one. But most Tesla shareholders think this is sane. If you're going to 8.5x the company's market cap and 7.5x the value of my stock after dilution, then I don't mind you getting $1 trillion because you just made me wealthier. You're getting one of the 8.5x. Go. Bernie, at my point, capitalism is better than communism. People should be compensated for delivering results. Bernie doesn't deliver results. And Elon does more good for humanity than all the governments in the world combined, right? You said you wanted electric vehicles. Elon delivered electric vehicles. You say you want roads safer. Elon's making the roads safer. You say you want global internet. Elon's delivering global internet. You want to cure brain diseases. Elon's curing brain disease. Elon's doing a hell of a lot of good things. What the hell's Bernie do? Talk? Write books? And more wealth than the bottom 59% of Americans combined. I don't know if you guys know this, but Bernie Sanders owns more houses than 99% of Americans. He owns 3 houses. That's more than 99% of Americans. Elon, I don't even think Elon owns 3 houses. Car and Driver reported it? I don't know. I haven't seen it. So Matt Burns says NHTSA said on Thursday. Where? Where did they say it? Where did they say it? Give me a link. I mean, I don't think the chat allows you to post links, but DM me on X. Send me a link. I've been asking about this for a while. I searched for it. I can't find it. The fact that some website called NotATeslaApp said it doesn't mean it's true. Where's the link? NHTSA announced. I went to the NHTSA website and I looked for announcements and it ain't there. So where's the announcement? I Googled NHTSA, autonomous vehicles. I looked at Google News. I looked all over. I don't find it. The fact that some no-name website reports a story doesn't make it true. Matt, I appreciate you, Matt, but where's the source? Where's the reliability of the story? Maybe the story is reliable, but I searched like hell. I couldn't find it, and nobody. I complained about it for hours, and nobody was able to point me to where the truth is. Where's the source for the story? I don't see it. Yeah, 14.4 is right. All I can find, NHTSA, there's a September 4th news article that doesn't say what those guys said. So Bernie's talking about the shareholder vote, which is coming up. And I think somebody, if you have questions about the shareholder vote, let me know. This is the proxy statement cover. And this is the page about what the votes are for and what the board recommends. My intention is to vote whatever the board recommends. If they say vote for, I'm going to vote for. If they say vote against, vote against. If they don't make a recommendation, I guess I got to think. And I don't have a strong opinion. I'm clearly going to vote for Elon's compensation package. I think that's obvious. Wes Hicks says James Stevenson posted a reply link to your X posting. Yeah, and I replied to James and we had a conversation, which we talked about at the beginning of this video, that he basically suggested, well, you can email these guys at the NHTSA. Well, why didn't Sawyer and Farzad email them to confirm the story? Why do I have to do it as somebody who's like saying they posted something that there's no evidence is true? Now I'm supposed to go and like email some guys at the DOT on fucking Sunday to confirm a story? Why didn't they confirm the story before they posted it? James and I had a conversation about it. If you see James replied, I replied to James. We had a back and forth. The evidence isn't there. And I specifically prompted James and Chuck Cook, like, do you guys have any evidence that this story is true? Yeah, I checked. Does the NHTSA have an X account? I couldn't even find an NHTSA X account. I think the DOT has one. Zaki asks, how's life in Thailand these days? Life is good in Thailand. Very happy here. Just another sort of fake news thing, not related to Tesla directly. It's like loosely related to Tesla because Tesla might hire some of these guys. Did I curse? Oh, no. Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, I'm kind of a fan of hers because she's very direct and she really nails things. There's this story about H-1B visa and probably Trump misspoke. I don't remember what exactly Trump said. I don't really try not to listen to Trump because I think some of the things he's doing are good, but I've never been able to listen to the guy talk. Just annoys me. That's a long story. I'm from upstate New York. He's from downstater. He's the big, loud New Yorker. I'm from upstate New York where we're quiet and reserved. You guys all know I'm quiet and reserved. And I've always just found him annoying, so I don't like listening to him. But apparently he said something to make people think that anybody who's here on an H-1B visa, now their employer's going to have to pay $100,000 a year or they're going to get sent home. And where people interpreted it that way, and that's not what's going on. So Carolyn Levitt, who is the person you want to go to find out what did Trump really mean when he said that, she said it's not an annual fee, it's a one-time fee that applies only to the petition. So when a company is trying to bring somebody in on an H-1B visa, they have to pay $100,000 up front. So you better really want this guy, right? So you're not bringing in half-assed employees, right? You're not going to spend $100,000 unless it's somebody who's really valuable. That's the idea. Those who already hold H-1B visas and are currently outside of the country right now will not be charged $100,000 to re-enter. H-1B visa holders can leave and re-enter the country to the same extent as they normally would. Whatever ability they have to do that is not impacted by yesterday's proclamation. And this applies only to new visas, not to renewals and not current visa holders. It will first apply in the next upcoming lottery cycle. So if you are from India or you're on an H-1B visa or whatever, don't panic. Because I saw a lot of people very upset. I don't know how much of it was true. I don't know how much was fake, but I saw some indication. And having been to India, I can understand how somebody who's from India and lives in the United States and makes a really good income and lives well in the United States would not want to go back to India. I think there's some good things about India. If I needed heart surgery, I would go to India. There's a few other things I would go to India for, but I would not want to live in India. Traffic's awful. I like walking. India's not walkable. It's like I'm in India and I'm like, boy, it really sucks walking here. Is there a city I can go to that's walkable? I'm talking to ChatGPT at the time. This is before Grok was around. ChatGPT's like, nah, no. There's no walkable anything anywhere in India. It's a shitty place for walking. I like walking, and you just feel unsafe walking. And then it's also dirty, and the air's dirty. Like, yeah, I could see not wanting to go there. So some people from India were very upset. It's like, okay, it's not so bad. Let's relax. I think people tend to overreact to some short-term news, and let's be patient and see how the news develops before you start panicking and saying you're going to kill yourself because you don't want to go back to India. You're valuable. Relax. If they do decide to kick you out of the United States, come to Thailand. We got lots of great stuff here. I wanted to mention this. Stephen J. Shaw is a friend of mine. Now, he became a friend of mine after his documentary Birth Gap. I don't remember how we connected, but he has this great documentary called Birth Gap. I think it's on X somewhere if you search for Birth Gap, all one word, BIRTHGAP. It's an hour or two long, but it's really, really good. It's compelling. It's stunning. Unplanned childlessness. Like he's got an interview just now with Trigonometry and another one on a podcast. I didn't finish it yet with Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom. I think his previous interview on Modern Wisdom was better. His previous interviews were better. I think this time around, he's still wrapping his head around some new ideas he has, and I don't think it's coming off quite as well. It's still good, but I love it, but I'm not sure how well it's going to communicate with people who aren't familiar with him. But I definitely recommend watching the documentary Birth Gap, and I would encourage you to watch his interview on Trigonometry and Modern Wisdom, but be patient with them because I don't know if he's delivering. I think if you listen carefully, you'll get it. But like the big thing is he's not really telling people right up front, this is why this matters. And I think his message is a little bit muddled. It's there. I hear it. I get it. He says some things that really get me going. But I think this is one of the most important topics we can talk about is the fact that humanity is heading for extinction. Not next week, not next year, not next century, but countries like Korea are on a path, South Korea are on a path to have their population fall by like 75% in less than 100 years. Maybe more than that, maybe 90% in less than 100 years. It's really shocking. Japan, most countries in the world are seeing really dramatic declines in births. And if you don't have enough children born, then this creates all kinds of problems that he talks about. So definitely encourage you, check out the Trigonometry account, watch that podcast, watch the podcast with Modern Wisdom, and definitely the most important thing I would say is watch the Birth Gap documentary. super compelling. If you're, I have to watch it. I'm 45 with no kids. It might be, just to be clear, it can be depressing. I have kids, and I'm hopefully going to have more kids soon. Um, but it could be a little. I mean, it's important to know, but when you see some of the things he talks about, it's a little depressing. Hello, Pete. Okay. Last slide I have for you is XAI. So one of Elon's companies is XAI. They're the ones that do Grok. They own the X platform. They are hiring for smart, hardworking, and trustworthy engineers. No prior AI experience required. You must be an outlier. Send me 3 bullet points proving exceptional achievement. But I would just say go to x.ai, search for XAI jobs, and you can see the jobs are listed. I think actually if you go to this post from Belche Dogru, if you go to this post, I think this is a link to the job listings, and there's jobs called AI tutor, which I applied for, and I think I failed the online test, and like I think it's hard, right? You have to be really good, and you have to fit what they're looking for. Pay was like $60 an hour, and I'm in Thailand where $60 an hour is insane, and I was like, well, and you could do it part time, you could do it full time, so I took a swing of the bat. I got rejected, but I would encourage anyone, if you can contribute to XAI building the AI of the future, that a truth-seeking AI, check it out. Take a shot to swing the bat. Maybe you can only do 20 hours a week. You can do part-time. Maybe you can do full-time. Maybe you get stock. If you get to full-time, maybe you get stock. That'd be kind of cool. Mark is giving us an alert to upcoming launch of Falcon 9. Thank you. The cows in India walk everywhere without any worries, become a Brahmin. Actually, that was one of the things that made me fearful of walking. Was I was walking somewhere and there was a bull, and he didn't look friendly, and I moved quickly and got the hell out of there. And there were dogs. There were loose dogs. India is just not. I don't know. I did not enjoy India. So, okay. I'm just gonna rehash because a lot of people have been asking you. You came to this video because you saw the thumbnail. This was the thumbnail, fake news, and I got Sawyer on the thumbnail. Sawyer posted this, that Tesla scores a win as the National Agency adopts performance-based rules for autonomous vehicles. Okay, so Henrik says our change. Let me just go to this is what the NotATeslaApp thing says. Our changes will eliminate redundant requirements and bring us closer to a single national standard that spurs innovation and prioritizes safety, literally on NHTSA website. So, Henrik, that's a different thing. That's not performance-based rules for autonomous vehicles versus rules-based rules versus, you need LiDAR, you need radar. That is their goal, and the Secretary has said this, the Secretary of Transportation has said this, their goal is to go with one national standard instead of 50 state standards. That's what that's about, Henrik. It's not this. Okay, and that's old. That's old news. This is written like there's this news. The NHTSA has announced its plan to modernize blah, blah, blah is finally in progress. Where's the announcement? Somebody find me the announcement. Yeah, I think, that correct 14.4. The one that Henrik's talking about was back in June. There was something in September 4th, which I shared here. This is the September 4th press release. Like I went to go to the NHTSA website and find me the announcement. Where's the announcement? This is the last announcement they have on autonomous vehicles. Transmission shift, position sequence, starter interlock, and transmission braking effect. Windshield defrosting and defogging systems, windshield wiping and washing systems, lamps, reflective devices, and associated equipment. Henrik, is this what you're talking about? This is the last press release on autonomous vehicles from the NHTSA. So where's the announcement? If you are a content creator with an audience, if you're like Sawyer Merritt, yeah, September 4th. This is the September 4th one. This is it, September 4th. This is what they announced. It's not we're going to performance-based standards. That's not what this is. That's not the September 4th announcement. So if you are someone who has, I like Sawyer, I like Farzad, I think they generally do good things, but I think it's wrong for Tesla content creators and for people in general to to report things that are not true, even if they're positive about Tesla. Whether they're positive about Tesla or negative about Tesla, you shouldn't report things that aren't true. And if you see something and it looks too good to be true, then you should check because it's probably not true. And if you've got an article like this and there's no link to the source, oh, the NHTSA announced something. Google NHTSA press releases. Go find me the announcement. So I want there to be good news. I want this to be true. I think it probably will be true in the future. And the idea, I think Farzad, I think read it wrong. And he said, this will allow Tesla to flood the US with vision-only AI-powered robotaxis. Tesla's already running vision-only AI-powered robotaxis in California, Texas, soon probably Florida, Nevada, Arizona. Something like 30% of the US population is going to be covered quickly. Like they're going to have access to, in some sense. The state standards already allow vision-only robotaxis. So that's not mind-breaking. It's not groundbreaking. And it's just sort of like, it sounded good, so I want it to be true, so I'm going to share it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I've never made a mistake. But I just get frustrated with fake news. I just so people can see. There was this story that some company we never heard of had an agreement to buy 10,000 Optimus robots. And I called that one to be false. Elon later said it was false. I didn't get to this one. Sorry. I want to cover this before I forget. Including my friend Bradford, a lot of Tesla investors say that Tesla should do a stock buyback. And they should have done a stock buyback before. And the idea is, well, if you could have bought back at 300 and the stock's up at 426, then that would have been a good thing. Yeah, maybe, probably. But for some reason, a lot of Tesla investors like talking about buybacks. When the robotaxi cash machine starts spinning, no one's going to care, right? The stock buybacks, dividends, somebody asked about earlier, all that stuff is like, accounting stuff. Like, let's get the damn machine running. Let's get the robotaxis running. Let's get Optimus running. That's the game changer that makes the world a better place. That's the thing that really drives Tesla stock up, is success. So, and did I miss something here? No. Okay. All right. So I think that's good. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank Mark and Jim in particular for moderating the chat, although we had a lot of moderation work for you. Thank you, Jim, for showing up. I know you were late, but thank you for showing up anyway. It's getting close to my bedtime, so I got to wrap this up. Thanks, everybody, so much for